everybody. This is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Sam from Apogean Tide. Would that be the right pronunciation, Sam?
I mean, that's the way I pronounce it. I haven't heard anyone else.
Tide. Okay, and also I've got Howard as co-host. Thanks for jumping in tonight, Howard. Much appreciated.
All good. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, Sam, what did it feel like for you when you saw the lineup for the Siege this year? Did it tug any heartstrings or bring back any memories for you?
Don't know if it brought back memories, but every time I see a Siege lineup, it does kind of bring me back to want to play shows. Definitely the Siege is one of the best shows you can play. So
yeah,
I was going to try and come to the Siege. I was talking to the guys from Toe to the Soul. I was talking to Marty about maybe singing one of the songs, but I couldn't get the time off. So,
well, there's that as well. You know, you have to kind of sacrifice stuff as well for work. If you're caught in it, you can't. I know all about that. Trying to nurse holidays there with work, man, it's a nightmare. And then we've Howard down below, who's off for the full week.
oh.
I hope you're making the most of it, my friend.
I am. I'm in the studio again tomorrow on Friday, Richie.
That's fantastic news.
Finished the Part 1 album. So
yes.
It's given a bit of time. It's the eternal struggle is balancing work with playing music. I think Sam will know that, and even just trying to get time off to go to a gig like the Siege. You know, it's very fucking difficult to balance everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, Sam, you would have absolutely loved to seen Howard's band Partholon play the Siege. It was just one of those memorable moments, Howard. I mean, I'd love to know what it felt like from your perspective, because it was strange in a way that because you were clashing with Memoriam and there was kind of a transition with the crowd. So when I galloped up, like there was maybe 20 or 30 of us there, and Jesus, at the end it was packed. Like,
yeah, it was pretty cool. It's hard to sum it up. It's still very much recent memory, I guess. For me, it was all about 100-Year-Old Man and just seeing those guys get back on their feet and kind of have some closure on a few things. So it was pretty emotional that day. The first, it was a bit of a blur, to be honest, but very excited. We played the full album top to toe, which was, I think, the last step that we were taking in terms of making decisions on how the album's going to go forward with the final mixes and so on.
That's interesting.
So,
wow.
We learned a lot. We learned a lot of stuff about what we're going to do now in the next couple of weeks. But ultimately, it was just a fucking great day. It was great bands playing all through the day.
Yeah.
Great vibe. Fuck it. It's never a disappointment,
And I mean, you were playing with, was that the first or second time that lineup played together?
First time ever, yeah. We've only had that up in place about maybe 2.5 months now. But the lads, I mean, Barry from Skellig, James from Magnapina, I mean, playing all their fucking lives, and I'm playing with James for the last 7 years weekly, Yeah. And I played with Barry in Five Will Die for, past 10 years, like, so fuck it, we're all very good friends and we all know the crack and we all know what we're in it for, so it's been a nice little transition.
Yeah.
At the time it was a bit of a scramble to get things back together and get shows going again, but the Siege was the only show we were going to play this year, and that's it,
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it now, we're the next time you'll see us will be in the new year sometime. We have a few things planned, but all the focus now is on getting the album final mixed and mastered and get it out,
Yeah. Sam, did you come across Partholon or Five Will Die?
Oh yeah, Five Will Die. What year did we play with you guys down in Cork for the first time?
Oh fuck, it was a good 6-7 year spread. We played with it was maybe 5 or 6 times a year, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, we fucking played a lot of shows together. Ilenkus, it's hard to.
It was like 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago, it was fucking right during the recession at the time. But people hear the impact of God Alone these days. But you go see God Alone, they blow you away, and there's just something different to everything. Ilenkus were just that back in 2009, 2010, and Fubar before it. I've never seen Fubar in the Quad in Cork City, and just fucking no one was doing that at the time. It was such a fucking injection of energy. Like, you guys were crazy. It was awesome.
How old were you, Sam, when you started Fubar?
Oh well, I think I was 16. Might have been 15, just going into 16. But it was just a youth club band that we started, played covers for a specific youth club gig, and then we just decided to keep going with it. So, Foo Bar, yeah, that was more. It started off more rocky, and we didn't really do the going crazy thing until later on, really, as far as I remember. You know, because we went to a Dillinger Escape Plan gig. I don't know what year, and after that we were like, right, we're gonna go crazy because it was so much fun.
It was fun to watch. The lads used to change instruments halfway through songs and fucking, you know, someone else was playing guitar in this one. I remember he had an organ at one gig. Remember you bring into the Crucian Law? And it didn't work in the fucking end.
That organ, like carrying that round, was ridiculous. Just for the end of one song as well. Actually, just to play like 2 notes at the end of one song.
What? That's insane.
It was about the size of a micro, like it was fucking huge, you know.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And again, was there big turnouts for Foo Bar down in Cork, Howard?
Oh yeah, fuck it. Like I said at the time, it was very much like God Alone in the last 3 or 4 years. There was just a buzz about these lads. One of the big mysteries to me is how Ilenkus never got signed. Maybe something to do with the timing, with the recession and all that, but they were just phenomenal. They were the best band in Ireland for me and for fucking many others who would have seen them for a good 3-4 year spread. They were just phenomenal, untouchable. Great band to play with because they light a fire under you. Follow Ilenkus, you have to be on your fucking game, you know?
I mean, like, as far as getting signed, we worked with a couple of independent labels, like, but I think, like, we're getting a record ready, The Crossing, I think it was, and it was delayed, and we were going to do a European tour, and it wasn't ready, and we wanted to have it out before we did the tour, so we cancelled the tour, and the big regret, I think, was cancelling that tour, because gigging is the most important thing, I think. Records, you know, that's fine. Well, these days, I guess content is the biggest thing, but back before TikTok, gigging is still the most important thing, really.
Yeah. I was just on about there, because you kind of jumped the gun there, Howard. I was just wondering how Foo Bar broke up and what was the transition then to Ilenkus?
My memory is great, but we had written a record and we'd started recording it, and while we were recording that, we wrote a load of other songs that were way heavier and what we thought better. Right. And then at the time we were like, oh, let's just scrap all this other stuff and work on this new stuff, and we'll just make it as a new band, and we renamed the band. It was still the same members.
Oh, okay.
We just renamed it.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Wow. That transition then when you're writing this new material, like who are your influences maybe for yourself, Sam? At that stage, was there a different change in music at that time as well? Were there different bands coming through, or that kind of caught your eye?
Yeah. Well, Dillinger Escape Plan. I'm not sure when they came in to he was probably about 18. Yeah. And then Tool has always been a big one. Like, I mean, when I was first learning guitar, it was Master of Puppets and Lateralis, 2 albums. I just tried to learn all the guitar on both of those albums.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as from Foo Bar to Ilenkus, yeah, Dillinger Escape Plan was probably one of the biggest things, because it was like, I remember we'd 4 of us were living in a house together in Galway. First year, we were all together out of our parents' homes, and I remember Josh was working in a record store, and he brought back CDs every day, like, and I remember listening to Dillinger Escape Plan for the first time, and watching the others listen to the record, Miss Machine, and watching their faces change, and we're like, what is this crazy stuff? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was it then. That was the big change. And
I mean, it wasn't a sudden change, really. Like, I guess, like we've been writing those songs over a period of a year or two, and it was just like a gradual kind of increase in aggression and heaviness, I guess.
Yeah. Howard,
and that's what it was. You
yeah,
know,
go on.
I remember seeing Bar, and you know, you were fucking great. I remember in the quad and whatnot, but I think it might have been nearly a year after that, I guess, before I caught you guys again, and there was a shift in dynamic in terms of the performance for sure. But there was a level of aggression, and I think particularly from Chris as a vocalist. I remember he just walked out in front of the crowd and put his stool down in the middle of everybody and just stood up in it before he even started, and then it was like a 4 count and fucking tore the place apart. You know, it was a real shift. It was, it was like, right, these guys mean business, you know.
And
that picture.
The Galway scene back then, Sam, was it quite enough?
It was pretty good. Like, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember the names of bands we played with. Like,
yeah.
As I said, my memory is really bad, but it was pretty good. Like, it was more of like a hardcore punky kind of scene, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, after we kind of were playing for a few years, then Josh from Ex-Ilenkus started Feast with some people, and I did live sound for a lot of gigs, and we put on a lot of shows. That was a good period of time in Galway, actually. I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been to a gig in Galway in a long time, since before lockdowns and all that. So.
And where are you living now, Sam?
I live in Loughrea. Yeah,
okay.
Living outside the city, trying to save money, you know, like everyone.
So we'll say then, when Ilenkus broke up, had you any songs? Had you been writing stuff in the background the whole time? We'll say.
Yeah. So during the lockdowns, we tried to write stuff. I was actually still working pretty much the whole way through the lockdowns, so I didn't have much time off, but some of the other lads managed to have some time off. They started writing stuff kind of separately and together. You know, it was hard to write together because we're never in the same room, but you know, we had a Google Drive sending each other stuff, and we wrote about 30 or 40 pieces of music, separate music, and then we were like, what are we doing? We need to figure out what we're doing. Like, and we decided to try and write a concept to fit some of the music into. So we spent a long time like building a whole world, characters and stuff, to try and then picking and choosing what we thought fitted in with that. So we just kind of, I'd say we were about 70% of the way there with like the pre-production on just the music. There was like started to do a little bit of work on vocals, but it was like over the 2-year period of COVID.
Yeah.
So, but it's that material's still there, and we might do something with it in some other way. But it might take some time.
Yeah.
To get round to it. You know, we're all living in different countries, and you know, we've all got full-time jobs, and I've got a kid and another one on the way, actually, in April.
Congratulations, man. Our commiserations.
So yeah, even just getting the time to even just all of us in one place.
Yeah.
You know. So
who's out of the country, Sam?
Rob, the bassist, he lives in Germany, and Josh lives in Bristol.
Okay.
Chris lives in Dublin, and I'm not too far away from Rory yet. I'm only about half an hour away from him. So.
Okay. So that's why he helped you out with the drums on this.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to program some drums myself, but I'm not too good at drums. Maybe with practice I'll be able to do it, but my plan was to actually record what we're doing, actual drums, but again, getting the time to meet up and do it properly. That's the plan for the future, to do some actual real drums rather than programmed stuff.
Yeah. Time is key, Howard, isn't it, for anything?
It is. This is why I work in a school, Richie.
Yeah.
you get your fucking midterms and your summer holidays and whatnot. You can moonlight as a musician for a few months of the year.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
I always find that, and this is just me, I'll throw it out to you there, concept albums are really, really difficult, especially if we'll say there's more than 3 or 4 people involved. Like, how do you follow a concrete story with characters drifting in and out? I mean, maybe you could talk about how the whole concept came about, first of all, and without giving away too much, obviously, because I know.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've always been interested in doing a concept album. I can't remember who suggested it first or where it came from, but like as soon as it was suggested, I was definitely down for it.
All right.
But yeah, it was a lot of hours and hours of just like discussing. We were like we put way too much detail into like building the world out.
Yeah.
Like it was a whole nother kind of dimension, and like we'd defined certain groups of people and like the whole politics of the world and everything.
Yeah.
But the story was going to be just about 2 main characters.
Okay.
In that whole world.
Right.
So it was following their path. But it was hard to shoehorn stuff we'd already written into it. It was like we'd read like the story and the script and stuff. It wasn't exactly a script, but like a storyboard or whatever. And we'd listen to certain pieces and we'd be like, does that feel like that kind of vibe? And then we'd be like, this might, and then we'd have about 10 different riffs and sections that might fit that one bit, and then we'd have to decide between us which one we thought was the best. So that was it. It's piling extra work on top of just writing music.
Yes.
You know, like before when we'd go to practice and we'd just like jam out something, you know, completely opposite to what we were doing.
Yeah. But again, it was just all of you feeling that you were progressing to another level once more with the music and this whole concept, which you hadn't previously attempted even.
Yeah, I mean, it was try something new, and we were in a new situation as well. So just ran out of time.
Yeah. How did you feel, Howard?
Some of it.
Yeah. How did you feel, Howard, when you heard the lads had kind of gone on a hiatus?
Wasn't surprised, I guess. I mean, at that point, you guys must have been together 10 years, you know. I think any band that gets to that length of time together, it's inevitable there's going to be some sort of hiatus or some sort of life influence that's going to push you in different directions for a small period of time. I think eventually I can see those lads working together again, and I'd be excited about that. But what's exciting about this new project is, for me, it's a step into a more post-metal world, and it's a bit more. The last EP by Ilenkus was really instant, 3-minute songs and short format, which is pretty cool compared to the earlier stuff. But for me, this is more of a style that I enjoy, and I don't know, it's hard to explain what kind of music it is, but there is a post-metal element that I fucking love. And the vocals too were really surprised, because I haven't seen Ilenkus and seen everybody do vocals. It'd be quite difficult to figure out who's doing what, but listen to Sam put his harmonies on top of his own harmonies. It's fucking great. And there's a lot of throwbacks stuff off your earlier albums that I know it's you.
That's the thing. I was more of a riff writer than a songwriter, especially with Ilenkus. You know, I don't know how many riffs I've written in the past, but I just write about 10 riffs at any time I pick up the guitar for even 10 minutes. So, but arranging a song is something that we did collaboratively, but I kind of took a little bit of a step back from that a bit with Ilenkus, just because I knew, like, I just write riff soup or whatever it's called.
I like that. Riff soup.
That's why we worked well together. You know, but I want to hone my skill and try and write songs better as a whole.
Yeah, so you gave us 2 songs, Sam. Navigators was the debut single. So maybe talk about that song, what it means to you, and maybe the concept behind it, and how long had you for going around in that noodle soup of riffs?
Just to start with, like, the project, I during the first lockdown bought an 8-string guitar off of a random lad, and immediately just started writing riffs with it. And Ilenkus was 6-string drop C or drop D, and by the end of the 3rd lockdown, I had about 20 different songs that, like, between 2 and 5 minutes of stuff that was probably never going to be used with Ilenkus. So I was like, I'm just gonna finish this stuff and maybe do a solo thing. And Navigators was actually one of the later pieces. I would say maybe like 15th or 16th piece that I'd written, and it was literally only the verse and chorus that I had when I decided to do the solo project. And I was like, I felt like that was the easiest one to just maybe flesh out and finish quickest, because I was like, I can do verse chorus kind of thing with it. So that is why I chose that first. As far as the concept, the lyrics, like, it's about instead of just letting your life be pushed along and it turns out the way it turns out, you guiding your life and you forging your path rather than being guided.
Yeah, go with the flow, like. So you produced the whole lot yourself, recorded everything?
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to do, because I've always wanted to be a recording engineer. I did live sound a lot, but I always wanted to be a recording engineer, and I never got any experience really. We did our own first album. We did it all ourselves, but I wasn't that involved in the mixing. Did a lot of the recording, but I wasn't really involved in the mixing. So that's something I really wanted to learn to do properly as well, with the goal of eventually doing other people's stuff, you know, working with other people. That's kind of a long-term plan. So that's why I'm doing everything myself, apart from programming the drums, because my programmed drums are not realistic. You know, you need a drummer. You need a drummer's perspective.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm certainly one for the live drummer. Right through all the stuff that we listen to on the podcast. Howard, any opinions on that?
On the track?
Yeah,
it's fucking great. I think there's a section about 3 minutes in where the song changes a little bit, but it's about 4 minutes in, I think, just before where you launch him with the solo. There's a shift in dynamic there, a shift in key, and it's fucking great. That's where the song really takes off for me. But the thing I like most about it is the vocals. They're fucking great.
Yeah.
They're not what you'd expect. They're not the tropey growls and whatnot. It doesn't drift too far into being too soppy or whatever way you want to describe it. But it's really, really fucking good. And I get the concept, navigating your own path and all that kind of crack. The lyric video and all that stuff, it does open up very literally what it's about. But it's a great track. It really is. I really do love it. You know, I'm really liking the stuff we're getting in here lately, Richie, in terms of music, because normally you do have to go through a lot of shit, but the last couple of artists we've spoken to, and this one in particular, has just been great stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm looking forward to seeing this develop, Sam, because, like I said, like you were saying there with the live drums in the studio and a different sort of production approach, I don't know, I think it'd be fucking great, you know, and with people working with you too, and maybe letting go of that, the difficulty of burdening it all yourself, you know, and having a couple of women in there, you know. I'm interested and excited really to see where this goes, and I'm trying to look down the line to a year or two time where we're playing gigs together and things like that, and reigniting old flames. It'd be fucking class.
I mean, I went to Arc Tangent there in August. Saw God Alone there. They were really good. The crowd loved them. It was great. But just going to that, and remember, we played it in 2018. It's just like, oh God, I really want to play a gig. But then you think of, like, you have to organize a certain amount of lads to be in a certain place. I don't know how many times to practice, how many times before. Like with this project, I'd have to teach them all the parts, and it would take a long time. But it's not out of the question. Definitely not out of the question.
Okay,
so hope.
Yeah, so we'll play the first song there. It's Navigators. Okay, so that was Navigators. Sam, I want to ask you about that in relation to the production side of things. You worked with Aidan Cunningham, of course.
Yeah.
Big influence?
With Elenkus, yeah. I guess so. Like being in the studio with him, watching the way he works very quickly, so it's hard to pay attention to what he's doing when you're focused on what you're doing, what your bandmates are doing.
Oh, okay. Right.
I guess I didn't take advantage of those situations at the time. And also, like, we'd be recording and then he'd do the mixing somewhere else. I think Josh was with him at one point for some mixing, but I didn't watch him do any of the mixing.
Right.
But, yeah, no, definitely he's an influence, all right.
And the rest you just kind of are self-taught, really, just... Yeah.
Well, I did a video and sound technology course in LIT in 2008, I think. And part of that was learning Pro Tools. So,
Okay.
I mean, I have a little bit of that, but just being in Ilenkus and recording our first album, and we recording the crossing. We recorded the crossing all ourselves as well, and then we got Chris Commons to mix it. Yeah. That's all the experience really that I've had. Yeah.
So it's
like in terms of,
if anybody's listening as well, I recommend listen to it. The Crossing, first Ilenkus album. It's fucking great. It's it's still played quite often.
Second Ilenkus album.
The car fucking broken. Second Ilenkus album. Still have the broken fucking CD case in my car. Pop it in every now and again.
Yeah.
Great album.
Yeah, I mean, like looking back on the whole Ilenkus experience, what do you think now that you've probably, how long are you away from the project? Maybe, what, 2 years, is it? A year, 2 years? Well, yeah, we're nearly with it.
I don't know when we decided to say that we...
I think it was 2020, was it? Did you put out a post or something? How does it feel like that you're on your own now as such, like you're officially a solo artist?
Yeah, it's weird. It is definitely weird.
Was it something you envisaged doing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay.
I've always planned I've always wanted to do a bunch of different stuff. I wanted to do acoustic stuff, electronic stuff, even myself.
Yeah.
Like, whether it was to release it or not, that was another story. But one of the main goals is to learn how to mix and master stuff. So that hopefully each song gets better in that regard. Obviously, recording is the most important part of getting the sound, but I don't have any facilities to do that at the moment. Okay. So literally everything I do is DI in and amp sims all in the box, like 100% in the box. I'm not even utilizing my lovely diesel amp at the moment. But hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll have our own house and we'll have a place where I can actually do that. You know? So it's all in the box at the moment.
Yeah, like Howard, when you're with Shawnee Cads, for example, there, maybe just talk about like what you can pick up from Shawnee and how has it benefited you?
A lot of it is hearing things as they are, as opposed to how you're feeling or thinking. The reality of what's coming through the speakers. Shawnee is really good at picking things that you wouldn't have heard, and maybe a frequency that just pulls something out of whack, without taking too much away from natural guitar sounds or amp sounds or whatnot. Just little things, if you didn't play the note right, a little ring off it, that I wouldn't pick up on myself, really. Okay. Because when you're listening back to yourself, you're critical of yourself, but at the same time, you're not hearing what other people are hearing, I guess. Shawnee definitely taught me anyway to step outside of that and look at it logically and objectively as opposed to emotionally, you know, without losing too much of the performance as well, which is up to me really. But you do learn stuff, but it's like you said with Aidan Cunningham, it's so quick. When you are in the studio, you're usually under pressure with time. You're usually under pressure to get it done. And these little moments that you learn stuff is so fleeting and so quick, and you're so focused on what you're supposed to be doing and performing and so on, that it can be hard to stop and take 10 seconds to learn something. Right. But you do absorb stuff subconsciously as you go through the experience of it all. But I was like yourself too, Sam, over lockdown. I did a lot of work on learning how to use Reaper, just general basic recording methods and mixing. And we did a Magna Pina EP, which we mixed ourselves and so on. And I learned a lot from that. You know,
Squid Sandwich, was it, Howard?
Squid Sandwich, but you see, again, we had the time to learn that. We had the time to sit down. Everybody was locked down. There was nothing happening. You could spend a week on YouTube figuring out how to use Reaper. Whereas I'm not sure I can do that now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I learned how to use Cubase and Pro Tools previously in college, so I already knew how to use a DAW and how to use plugins, but it's the finer details of, like, I didn't really know how compression was meant to be used for different instruments and different points. Now, I mean, YouTube is great. Like, you can watch as many videos as you want, but you have to actually do it yourself with your own, or with some kind of material. Whether that's, you know, downloading multi-tracks and doing it. Like, you can't just watch a video and be like, right, now I know how to do it.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's difficult as a musician as well, because like when you're by yourself, you have to bring riffs, you have to bring songs, and all that has to happen before you even think of the recording method, you know? You have to have the meat to put into the sandwich kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long it takes time, it's a process.
It definitely is.
I mean, for the start of this, I'm not putting pressure on myself to make everything perfect. Like, from throughout the whole thing, from performance to production to mastering, because I'm only beginning it. Like, and also I wanted to kind of put time pressure on myself rather and force myself to release songs that in a more regular way, so that I can move that material on. That's another thing that I've always been bad at, is finishing something in terms of a song. So I'm like putting pressure on myself to finish songs. So like, if things aren't perfect, I'm not too worried, because I know I'll get better and better and faster at it the more songs I do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but like the quality is there right through the two songs you gave us. We'll play Revolution is a Fallacy next, and maybe you can talk us through that. And that came out on the 21st of October this year. So, and they can find all those songs on Bandcamp, Sam, is it?
Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube, I just put it everywhere, like.
Okay, cool. that's a brilliant track, Sam. Revolution is a fallacy. That one, you said it's about struggling to come to terms with the individual and collective efforts of
I can't even say it.
totalitarianism.
I just read the word to say it. What? Say that.
It's totalitarianism.
Totalitarianism.
Italian terrorism.
Maybe we'll give YouTube lessons on how not to pronounce the fucking word.
Where did I remember where I wrote that?
And Rory did the drumming on it. Was it, or drum programming?
So programming, yeah. So like I had really crappy basic programming on it that didn't make much sense in parts. So I'd send him the guitar stems and a full mix of how I think it might sound, and then he programs some drums, and I'm like, sounds weird to me, and then I listened to it a few more times, and I was like, this sounds way better.
Yeah.
You know, when you've listened to something so many times that, and then you hear a completely different version of it, you're like, oh, it's a bit weird, but then you realize it's way better, especially where he puts the snare drums,
Yeah, you'd expect that out of him.
Yeah.
Again, the vocal style is really good in this, really strong. How would you approach your vocals, Sam?
So I don't have much confidence with my voice, to be honest. When I listen back to a take, I'm like, it sounds bad. But so that's why that's one of the reasons why I'm like, I'll put layers, harmonies to disguise that. But yeah, like Howard said, it's I didn't want to go too far in either direction, be too poppy, or what was the word you used? Soppy. Was it?
Soppy.
Yeah. Or be too aggressive. So that's. And again, it's literally recorded in this bedroom, beside the curtains over here. I like press record and it goes to the microphone. A bit, yeah. It required a bit of tuning. I tend to sing flat a lot. So.
And who would be your kind of favorite vocalist that you kind of influence you maybe as well in that?
So,
any surprises for us?
Not really. I mean,
I was hearing
Maynard, Chris Cornell.
Yeah, I was hearing what's his name? Fucking hell! Oh, strapping young lad. What's the singer?
Devin Townsend.
Devin Townsend.
His production, actually, yeah, I like his production for that, and Rory is a massive fan of Devin Townsend, so he would made me listen to a lot of it. I'm trying to think of other singers that would be big influences. I mean, I like the style of. Have you ever heard of a band called Intronaut? I like their style in terms of the way that they add the vocals into the music, and it's not like, here's the vocals, it's all about the vocals.
Yeah, it reminds me of the what's that band from Germany, The Ocean.
Oh,
The Ocean, yeah. Oh, I love The Ocean as well, actually.
Yeah, there's I can hear a lot of elements there from that, but again, I love the fucking vocals on both tracks.
Yeah, same.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly, Sam. You're on a good one there, man. Even though you might be critical of yourself, but you're, as long as us two here are happy, and I'm sure that'll filter out a lot more when they listen to the song on the podcast, man. So that's pretty cool. The artwork is pretty stunning. Is there someone gets credit for that? Don't say it's AI generated, please.
The first Navigators, the artwork for that is by James Sheridan, who did all of Elenkus'
Yes,
artwork.
I was afraid to suggest if it was like it's class. That's great news.
The second one is actually an image that I got from a free from copyright website,
Right.
and kind of just changed the coloring a bit because James couldn't work on stuff. He's very busy with lots of things, and I'm gonna get him to work on, if I release an EP or an album, I'll get him to do something with that. But in terms of singles, from now, I'm just gonna do the basic thing. Really, like I don't have time to work extremely hard on the artwork. But I saw that image and I thought, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's great that you're still using James Sheridan, man. Continuing the tradition.
He's a great artist.
He's just super. Like, he's unique.
I think you gave Ilenkus a sort of a visual identity there for a period of time too, over 3 years. All the posters and all the artwork that came with it.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it's good to give him a shout out every now and then. He did some great work with Zahora as well, and he was working with Worn Out lately.
That record is pretty solid, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, yeah. And the title then, Sam, Apogean Tide.
So I was making lists, probably like all bands do, a bunch of different things. I kept on bugging Rory to give me a name because I couldn't do it myself. But my wife actually came up, so yeah, it's all down to my wife. Do you know what it means? Have you looked it up?
No.
Okay, it's basically when the moon is 90 degrees to the compared to the sun to the Earth, and it's closest to the Earth. So that's when the tide is at its lowest because of that relationship. That was a terrible job of explaining it, but you can Google it. So.
Like a spring tide.
And
what guitars have survived from Ilenkus? Of all of them, have you changed any guitars?
No, my PRS is my main guitar, and it has been since I bought it secondhand off a lad that played in a wedding band, and he was like, "I can't use this guitar." Yeah, I used that with Ilenkus for I don't know, 10 years. Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, and you went 8-string then as well.
Yeah, so the 8-string I bought was the cheapest you can buy. It's like a Harley Benson, because I just wanted an 8-string. And then I wrote all that stuff, and I was like, oh, I need something that sounds better and is more in tune to actually record the songs. So I found one on the adverts. It's a Washburn Parallax, it's called. Which it's not. It's only a little step above the Harley Benson, but budget, you know. But it's got good pickups in it. And
I wanted to ask you actually. I watched the playthrough video, and with the guitars at the top of the neck, you've got like a sort of a green thing.
That is that is a bit of a washing up sponge, chopped off,
yeah,
stuck under, just so the strings don't create, especially my PRS, like it's a crazy resonant sound off of it, and that just stops that. Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go. Now, Howard.
You learn something new every day.
That's fun for you to take away.
I take a note what Sean has been on about, Richie. Okay.
Yeah, well, like, you know, there's like people use those fret wraps, and I guess they're to mute strings. You pull it up and mute strings. It's kind of the same concept, but just past
same concept. Yeah, I've seen the string wraps, all right, but I've never seen. Now that I know it's a sponge, of course, I've never seen it. You know.
And what about? Did you use a bass then? The bass is your own, or did you have to buy one? Or?
No, the bass is a virtual bass.
Oh,
because I don't have a bass guitar.
Okay.
Well, actually, I do. I have a friend's bass guitar in the closet somewhere. It's an old PV, but it's completely broken and stuff.
Right.
Rob's basses are actually Rory has them, and I was going to get one of those, but I just never managed to get it. And I was like, I'll just do virtual bass, and the next track I'll do bass. And then I did the next track. I was like, I didn't get the bass yet. I'll just do virtual bass again. But the next track will have real bass on it, and maybe not. Maybe it'll be someone else playing it. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, Pavel
We want to collaborate.
Pavel is down Galway a lot playing with Slug at these days. He's a pretty mean bassist. I heard.
A man. just, you can't go wrong with fucking Pavel.
Jar of pickles, salmon, he's yours, man. He'd fucking play anything for you.
Just regular pickles, or they're the ones with chili in them?
No, regular.
Very regular. He doesn't fuck around with his pickles.
And it's Sam, you're still in touch with the Irish metal scene. Are you any bands there that you want to give a shout out to that you particularly enjoy still?
Well, just the bands that are currently releasing stuff. Worn Out, their new stuff is really, really good. God Alone are definitely doing something different, like as you said. And seeing them live, you can see they've got big things on the horizon, I think. Definitely.
Pals and Baylor.
Yeah.
That was a great fucking release last year. Jesus Christ almighty. Fuck.
I think Worn Out are challenging them quite strongly for the...
Oh, absolutely.
I put them in the same category at the moment, to be honest.
Very similar, but I saw Worn Out at the Siege last weekend. They were fucking spectacular.
I think Worn Out are more aggressive, more heavier now.
More aggressive, for sure,
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
And actually, I watched one of your podcasts with Axe Catcher, and totally forgot about that band. We played with them years ago in Dublin, and straight after that podcast, I put the record on. I was like, "Oh, this is class."
Completely converted to them when I saw them support Worn Out in Dolan's and Limerick. Jesus, they were amazing.
Yeah,
they were part of the tour that played Cork only a few days ago as well. I was on night shift, so I couldn't go, but yeah, I know there's a fantastic scene around at the moment, and as Howard said, it's getting more. The tracks that are coming in now are really, really good, and
they're worth listening to. a nice change of pace.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep up with it. Actually,
it's amazing.
It is.
Yeah, I've been trying to discover as many new bands as I can that are Irish.
Yeah, it's just crazy the sheer volume of stuff that's been released, and it's fantastic. And I think a lot of that stemmed out of COVID, and now the fruits of those labours are shining through. So
hopefully we'll continue.
Yeah. You think? Do you think, Howard, you will get the Partalon? I don't want to be putting on the spot now, but will it be out early next year? Is it possible?
Yeah, it's probable.
Yeah.
I would
give us a date. Come on, give us a date.
I go definitely before March next year for sure.
Ah, Jesus, that's great news.
Possibly by the end of the year. I mean, we're at 2nd, 3rd November now, so I'm in the studio tomorrow to finish vocals. There's one or two little overdubs here and there, and there's a bit of time coming up that we can use to do that. So it's just mixing and getting everything lined up. The vinyl problem is hitting everybody. I think it's fucking 9-month wait, minimum. Yeah. So that might push things back a little bit, but that's the only reason I can see things going back till March is if the vinyl is going to take that long,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there. It's nearly done. Very, very, very close. Fucking delighted with it.
Sounds fucking amazing live. Simple as that. And that's the real acid test for me anyway.
I think that's what Sam was saying at the top of the show, is playing live is still the thing that you got to do to measure your songs, I think, and to measure yourself. And you learn bits and pieces from playing live and watching bands play live. I remember Ilenkus, you were like sponges when you played gigs. You just took on so much. You could see it in your next gig, and we played with you enough to spot it. You see in your next gig with elements of the last bands that you played with popping up,
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, I think, is you learn all these things. You try to capture that in the studio and drive it in a direction. As you were saying, navigate your own path.
Exactly.
So, Sam, listen, thanks a million for coming on the show, dude. I really appreciate it. And it was great talking to you and meeting you.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, very nice to meet you as well.
Yeah,
Great to see you as well, Sam. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, it's been a long time.
Excited to see you're doing something, and I am excited.
Yeah,
to see what happens next.
From what he gave us, Howard, man, he's going in the right direction, big time. So
thank you.
Please keep doing what you're doing. All your stuff, Sam, is available on Bandcamp and Spotify and all the usual platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere.
Under Apogean Tide.
Absolutely. That's correct.
Excellent stuff, man. Best of luck in the future, and thanks again for coming on the show. Howard, thanks as always.
My pleasure.
Okay, and crucially, support your local medicine.